Good morning, students of class 10. Welcome back to the online class now. Let's continue our lesson, our triumph of surgery in English. So we are doing footprints, supplementary reader. So now here, in our previous class we have talked that we have studied about when Mr. Harriet, the doctor, veterinary doctor, took Tricky in his clinic in the surgery. Other dogs surrounded him, and when Mr. Harriet put the Tricky down, other dogs, they sniffed him and ignored him, thinking that he is an unimportant object, and they left Tricky. Now here we'll continue something more about. In the surgery, other dogs ignored Tricky. Till there we have finished. Other dogs thought that it's an important object, so they ignored him and they went to play. Other dogs were also there who had come for the treatment. Mr. Harriet, the writer, veterinary doctor, Mr. Harriet made up a bed for him in a loose box, in a box next to where the other dogs slept. He made a bed for him because Mrs. Pumphrey had sent him day bed, night bed, and so a lot of clothes were there, beddings. So he made a bed for Tricky and put him there, next to the place where other dogs slept, next to other dog boxes. He kept an eye, he means the writer, Harriet, Mr. Harriet, the doctor. The doctor kept an eye on him for 2 days. Keep an eye means watch, close observation. Veterinary doctor, Mr. Harriet, kept an eye on him for 2 days. He gave him plenty of water but no food, giving him only water for 2 days, because Mr. Harriet knew that the dog never refused food. That's the problem. So he must be kept without food for some days, so that he will reduce his fat. Giving him only water, plenty of water, but no food. On the third day, for 2 days without food, just water only. On the third day, Tricky showed some interest in his surroundings. Tricky began to look around from the box, and he started making certain noise. When Tricky saw other dogs playing around, running around, chasing each other, Tricky started making a noise. Whimper, that is called. On the third day, Tricky showed some interest in his surroundings and began to whimper. Whimper means made noise, made a sound. It started making sounds. When he heard the dogs in the yard, when Tricky heard the dogs and saw the dogs playing in the open garden yard, so Tricky started whimpering, started making noise. Number 4, when Mr. Harriet opened the door, Mr. Harriet was watching him. When he heard the whimper, when he heard the sound made by Tricky, he went there near the box and he opened the door. Go and play with other dogs. When Mr. Harriet opened the door, he means here Tricky, he trotted out. Trotted means to walk with difficulty. He trotted out and staggering, that's called staggering, unable to balance the body. He trotted out and was quickly engulfed. Engulfed means surrounded. Engulfed by the other dogs, by the pack. When Tricky came out from the box, other dogs rushed in and engulfed. Engulfed means surrounded Tricky. They rolled him, they pushed him, he rolled over like a ball. They pushed him, sniffed him, And after thoroughly inspecting, after checking, the other dogs went to play in the garden again, leaving Tricky there. After rolling him over, they pushed him, dashed him, and Tricky rolled over on the ground. And thoroughly inspecting, thoroughly means totally, inspecting, checking him, the dogs moved off towards the garden. Again, the dogs ignored him, thinking that it's an unimportant object, no use. So the dogs, after checking, thoroughly inspecting Tricky, they left and went to play. Tricky followed them. Tricky slowly tried to move and followed the other dogs, rolling slightly with his surplus fat. Surplus means extra. He is hugely fat. So his belly used to touch the ground. You can see so fat it was. So while walking, he used to fall very often. He used to roll over very often. But he was moving towards the pack, towards the group who were playing, running around. Later that day, on that same day, third day, later that day, during feeding time, during the lunch time, it was time to feed the dogs. Later that day, during feeding time, other dogs rushed in for the food. They rushed and followed by sound of high-speed eating. Each dog had a bowl. The food was kept in the bowl, and other dogs rushed in and they took one bowl each and high-speed eating. There was a sound of high-speed eating, slopping the food, liquid food, not solid, liquid food. Each dog knew that if he is left behind while eating, other dogs will come and take his food, his share. There was a kind of competition. And Tricky was watching everything. He had never seen this type of things before in his life, because he lived in a big bungalow, a beautiful bungalow. He had never seen this type of dogs before. So these dogs, they started eating with a high speed, sound of high speed eating, slopping the food quickly. Each dog knew that if he is left behind while eating, definitely there is a competition. Other dogs will come and take his share. So he needs to eat fast. So each dog knew. That's why there was a high speed, sound of high speed eating, slopping the food quickly. And Tricky was watching everything carefully. That was the first time that Tricky was seeing all this type of things. Other dogs eating, how they are eating. And when the dogs finished eating and left again, they went again to play. Tricky came around and watched the bowls. It was perfectly clean. And Tricky just licked one or two bowls and moved around the bowls. Oh, it was watching everything. He licked some of the bowls one or twice and he moved around the bowl. On the fourth day, the writer also put one extra bowl for Tricky. Let's see what happens after that. Whether Tricky will like the food, because he had never eaten this type of liquid food. He had eaten cakes, chocolates, malts, Horlicks, eggs, sweets, chocolates, all kinds of beautiful, nutritious food, tasty foods. This type of liquid food, just like a broth, never eaten before, and he watched. Let's see whether he will eat or not in our next class. So that's all for today. Keep on watching the videos and stay safe. Carry on your studies. Don't waste your time. That's all for today. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you for watching.